now we're going to learn a little bit more about how these young men and young women, how they deal with being in the United States, how difficult it is for them to understand not only our society, but this whole God thing, who this God is. What you're going to tell us today is going to really help us. Dr. Chiaretto, Yang.
I will talk about youth. I'm not young anymore, but I start with my personal experience. I became a Catholic at high school in Hong Kong. As you know, Hong Kong is a materialistic society. My parents came from China. As a student, we had to just study hard without much aspiration in life. But at some point, I met a group of young people who care about others because they live the gospel, serving the least and those who are in need. Above all, they love one another. So I felt a sense of family with them. I was baptized then, a Catholic. But a question came to my mind: how come so many people in China are not Christians? They don't know about God. My family, my father was living in China. And they told me it's a responsibility. And others are touched by the love of God through our love. To make the story short, after following Jesus, and after different periods of time, and then it brought me to China. 27 years ago, I lived there since then, in Shanghai and Beijing. And at the beginning, I worked for a private company, and then 10 years ago, I started go back to academic work. At the moment, I'm teaching at seminaries in Beijing, Shijiazhuang, and our only university in China, which is in Macau, as a visiting professor. I remember 27 years ago when I just arrived in Shanghai. You probably saw pictures of this, the Bund, the Waitan, the riverside of Shanghai. You can see an array of colonial-style architecture. At the end of this series of monuments is the People's Hero Monument, and at the other end is a lighthouse built by the Jesuits decades ago. I remember one evening strolling along the riverside of the other of the Pudong New area, viewing the Waitan, the Bund. At 10 o'clock, punctually, even nowadays, they switch off all the lights on the monument. And I saw a cross on top of a lighthouse. I was very much struck because I said, in a socialist country, atheist, a cross. But then the following day, I went closer. I found out that it was a wind measuring instrument. It was not designed to be a cross, but I believe that there's a design in the plan of God, in His loving plan for all persons and for our country, even for the whole world, for humanity. The monument also struck me on the other side. It's a People's Hero Monument. Looking at the explanation, it didn't say that it's the communist heroes. It said, for all the heroes who contributed to China, to make it a new China in the last 200 years. So it's from a more objective perspective. And if we look at the last 100 years of China, I think from 1919, we see 30 years of turmoil. It was when the May 4 movement, the young intellectuals of China started this May 4 movement, wanting to renew China. And 30 years of turmoil, Japanese war, Civil War, and all that. And then from 49 to 79, another 30 years of ideology, communist ideology. And then from 79 onward, 30 years of reform and opening up. And what after the Expo of Shanghai and the Olympic Games held in Beijing, what are the 30 years ahead of us? We don't know. Today, more and more Chinese are going abroad, coming to study, mostly here in the US and other countries, or for visits, tourists. I mean, now because of COVID, we don't find too many Chinese tourists, but recent years, quite a lot. Xi Jinping ambitions so-called a new era of moving towards building a community of shared future for mankind. The challenges of the youth faced in China in general: intense competition at school, spiritual poverty. They need cultural adjustment to the social changes, and they need relationships. China has seen the biggest migration in human history, when half of her poverty-ridden rural population, half of her population moved to the cities or migrate or being urbanized. So living a decent life nowadays. Social changes have been enormous, and so are the changes in the youth. The controversial one-child policy has brought about the phenomenon of left-behind children in rural area and single-child family in the cities, beside the aging problem of the population going near towards like the West or Japan. Chinese youth have different kinds of challenges. They're under pressure since childhood, from studies to work till forming a future family, including looking for a lifetime partner. The whole family would put the clan would concentrate their efforts for the single child to pass the Gaokao, the college entrance exam. It's a tradition of since the time of Confucius examinations, a lot of competitions. The lifetime income of an average young worker in the metropolis will not be sufficient to purchase an apartment. Moreover, parents pool their resources to help the young in order to choose a spouse. Matchmaking, and the young have a sense of obligations towards their parents. That's Asian value. Chinese youth are generally inclined to the latest technology. They're hooked to the omnipotent smartphone and the newer forms of media. Inspired by the story of three university students in Peking University, they started this mobile sharing thing called OFO bike sharing. Nowadays, you can easily travel with this with the fast train, and then you even late at night you come back from another province and using the subway, metro, and then at the nearby subway station you can ride a bike for maybe like 10-15 cents. You can subscribe to it, and then you can ride home. So this sharing system, sharing economy, and many youth are inspired with this kind of environment, using Taobao or to start a shop using the mobile payment and all that. Of course, there's ferocious competition. Also, this corporation, which became a multi-million corporation, they even start some. Once I was in Singapore, I tried to use this mobile system. It works with the same app of in China. But then, they face tough competitions. And this is a school campus where you usually have a store or a kind of supermarket, but nowadays they don't need that anymore. They just order things. The students just order things. It became for deposit, a warehouse for deposit. All the students will go there, just pick up the things. So how in recent years things change. But then with this competition, recently there's a phrase in the internet the youth like to quote called 躺平, 躺平 meaning lay flat. Some just want to give up because I don't want this rat race, and they became some. But the rest, most of them still competing and striving for their life. But some will even I don't want this kind of life and stop for a while. It may be good. In the face of materialism and spiritual poverty, where do they turn for help? Life is not always rosy and smooth sailing, given their materialistic view of life. So friendship and help from above, these are does religion have a role in their life? These might be the question that could pump up. What about the Catholics? The challenges the Catholic youth are facing. For some of you who have been in the panel yesterday, I've shared some experience of youth in this process of migration, urbanization. There are certain challenges for Catholics living in the non-Christian majority environment. Yang, for example, was raised in a fervent Catholic family. She learned all the prayers by heart when she was 5. She didn't realize the masses were supposed to attend at church, because all the masses, until she went to university in Tangshan, because all the masses she attended was at home, because it's like house church. So they are reluctant also to share their in the environment at school. They are reluctant to show their Christian identity, because they think it's a tradition transmitted from generation within a close circle. But then Hai Lun has another experience. When she was at grade 6, Christmas time, and she realized that her classmate, it was Christmas time, they know nothing about Christmas except about Santa Claus. So she took some leaflets from the parish, which narrate about the story of the birth of Jesus, and started distributing among the 6th grade students. Of course, she was stopped then by the teacher. But now she's in college. By the way, she's coming to the US after 1 year of online classes. And she would make the sign of the cross at before meal. And other classmates would ask her many questions about faith. And she said, they found something different in me, and she was ready to share, because questions were coming from them. For some Catholic dioceses, mostly in, as far as I know, in Hebei provinces, they start a program called 100-day formation program for those who they can take a break. They're working, or take a break from work, or when they to have more human formation, for communications, for with their parents, for human growth, and it has been very fruitful, and their parents were struck by this. Also, in the cities, there's some programs for children of migrant workers, and then for college students in the province of Hebei, Sichuan, Shanxi, starting year 2000, more or less, they started organizing the summer camps, winter camps, and during the school year, they feel the need for more continuous formation, because before it was only during vacation time they went back to their home province, to their diocese, and some big provinces, Hebei, they will send also a pastor to visit them during the year. But they also want to find themselves the need to meet together at the city which hosts them, maybe near a church, near a parish in vicinity of the university, and many what we call faith and friendship groups for students, for university students, 大学生联谊会. And then for high school students, we have this group called YCS, Young Catholic Students. The importance of accompaniment according to different age groups. So these high school students, they particularly care and pay particular attention to the needs of high school students. According to this group's guiding principle, the youth should be animated. The youth should animate the youth themselves. Although they have a priest as spiritual director, in the light of the gospel, teenagers accompanying teenagers in the process of see, judge, act, review of life, and benefit from this group experience. As they grow spiritually and in age, some feel the call to dedicate themselves to help the younger ones. So even like senior high school student will take care of the junior high school student. And then even when they go to college, some prefer to remain to help, to work with this group. Another phenomenon is the volunteer work within the Catholic Church. They organize volunteer works, Matteo Ricci volunteers, and they visit home for the aged, orphanage, doing services, or sometimes for a period of time as volunteers. By the way, in China, the concept of volunteers is very developed. I mean, in whole of China, not necessarily in the Catholic environment. I remember I was working in the expo in Beijing, and 800 volunteer students, every day present there, and really you can find them. I met some volunteers even abroad, not Christians, by chance going to a Catholic established for handicaps, and they were telling me it was a lifetime experience for them. It's not a loss of time. They just search on the internet and went there, and then it's not a loss of time, and they gain a lot for the whole of their life. Volunteers sense of community, discernment about vocations. No, vocation not so much in the strict sense of going to the seminary, but also vocations as Christian in forming a Christian family, at work, giving testimony. I would like to share some experiences of these young people. For example, Ying Ying was with a group of teenagers, sharing. But then she has a boyfriend and well-off family. But then at some point, his father bankrupted because of shadow banking, things like that, and then was even put into prison. And then she kind of collapsed for her. And but then she remember this group, and they never forget her when she was alone. Also, she see the Jesus, on the cross, as a strength for her to go on. And she, want to offer his life, to follow God. Another experience is a young fellow from Guangzhou, and then he came to Peking for studies, introduced by his cousin to us. We are in a group, the Focolare, and then we have sometimes gatherings, sharing together. And one day he brought another classmate, who is a Protestant, and then to our activities and meetings. And then sometime later, another Jian Chao, came with Hong Ye, and then another Wen Tao said, "Well, what are they? Where do they go during weekends? How come they don't bring me? He's not a Christian." Then he came also, and then later on doing volunteer work at school. Jian Chao was doing voluntary work after school cleaning. Not paid, not really volunteer, because they are not well off. But then another student of lower grade also followed, and all of the three at the end baptized, became Catholic, because they find this sense of community, sense of family. Yeah. At the beginning, maybe some came to the U.S. for because of scholarship, and then as China became more prosperous, some families would put their resources together to invest in the child, and they came. At the beginning in the 80s, you can see that from Hong Kong, Taiwan, many students, but then it jumpsuit to China 10 times, 20 times more over the years, until last year we reached the peak of 370,000 students coming to the US, because they find the best school system here only because of tensions between US and China. Maybe now, I don't know whether it will continue to grow or it will decline, because here they have all around, less competition, more all around education. They are ambitious, and they have to face challenges of language, adaptation, loneliness issues they encounter in campuses. There's these Asian values of reciprocity, the golden rule. What you do to what you want the others not to do to you, you do not do to the others. Also, if you want to establish yourself, enhance yourself, you first enhance the others. I think it's important to emphasize on this, to keep these values. and some, also in China, in the environment of China, why some became Christian, I think, is the youth pass through different stages of life, identity crisis. Sometimes they have to cope with a new environment. They need a sense of belonging to a community, because sometimes they feel also the vacuum, by, for example, going from the countryside to the big cities. They breaking from the traditions, from traditional beliefs. And Christian faith usually spread only by attraction, not because they want to take refuge in a religion or to obtain the wishes, what they like, and to pray just for what want to obtain something, but by values. The education system, usually in Asia and China, we emphasize very much on intense competition, on knowledge, gaining knowledge, intellectual development, but intense competition. And so, at the same time, they also seek values, social relationships. So, social fraternity and solidarity are important, and finding the new faith, they will give them peace. Also, in front of difficulties, that they will think about this inner joy, inner peace comes from something transcendent, not from human interest. I've interviewed and put many experiences of theirs in this book that I published for the Synod of Bishops 3 years ago. So, are they open to religion in general, or Christianity in particular? I think when they come to the US, we need not just want them to become Christian, like with a string attached, but just give them care and help. And then it's like a seed planted. As I remember when I went to, I didn't come from a Catholic family. And I was even already in elementary school. It was a Catholic school, so the seed of faith is there. So I will finish with 3 images for my presentation. One is the one that I've shown, that there's a design, there's a plan of God for each of us, for our country, for the world. And then second is, I like very much the image of this Our Lady, not only the one of Cézanne, but there's Our Lady. By the way, Pope Francis liked very much and brought it to South America, very much diffused. The Our Lady of the, I thought it's not on the slides, but Our Lady of the Knots. Unlocking the knots. I find that we are very oftentimes we are not in past. We saw from the statistics presented by Bishop Monsignor Hon, and also Mr. Freeman. Mr. Freeman said the last 3-4 years plateau the growth of Protestants, Christians, and the Catholic Church, as Bishop pointed out, 20 years ago, in 2001, is already plateauing. I think it's a very personal reflection. Maybe we were stuck too much in controversies, in our divisions, and it's like a knot. I think with Pope Francis, we are starting to loosening these knots. And the last image, I would like to leave this painting because it's a painting displayed in the for the first time that the Holy See participate in an international event in China, held in China, the Beijing Expo 2 years ago on horticulture. I was assigned by the Pontifical Council for Culture as the coordinator, and I worked there for 6 years. And this about creation, the harmony of creation, of relationship with God, with the nature, among people. And there was a forgotten bird here. Anyway, I will leave this to Father Mike so, as a gift. And I think whatever we do, like what we are doing here for the association is doing, is to help build bridges and to work for the good of the students, and would be like a contribution to this. This activity was for the kids to complete this forgotten bird, because the artist forgot a bird there in the painting of 2,000 animals and birds, and children were asked to finish this forgotten bird. So what we are doing is just a contribution to give some color to this unfinished work. Thank you.
My name's Sister Maria Gabriel, and I'm a Franciscan, and our community was founded in China. So we're very interested in the things that are shared here at the conference. My question is, of those 400,000 international students, how many of them embrace the Christian faith? Do you know?
Well, I don't know the statistics. I just read, because it's the first time I come to the US. But as far as I know, Catholic population in China is less than 1%. Those coming to the US are even less. I don't know, maybe Father Mike knows better, but less than 1%, far less.
I was wondering, are Catholic schools still open in China? I'm unclear about that.
There are no Catholic schools in China except the seminaries. There are about 6 seminaries still running, well, some dioceses will have some Catholic schools are run. The diocese is behind, maybe run by a laity. So I mean the impact is very little in education. For Catholic schools in China at the moment.
I see. So the experiences of groups of Catholic students were
Spontaneously, they group together. Usually, maybe they find a church premise where they can meet, and at school they get to know one another, and so this faith and friendship groups we call 大学生同学会. It's a good experience for them because, in a way, because of this this mobility of coming from countryside to cities, and the youth are very open, and as I said, I mentioned early in the presentation, a couple of experiences. You can find that these 2 girls coming from 2 different backgrounds, very different. One from the so-called underground church, the other from the open church, official church. And in a way, it's also a help for this mobility, help reconciliation, understanding one another, and coming to big cities, and then they go back to their hometown. Usually in countryside, the Christians are very fervent, and so it's complementary. These exchanges, as Mr. Youngman was saying, certain complementary also in the two types of churches. I would say now that even between Catholics and Protestants, I think now the more strict on Protestants, also on Catholic Church, because there are many controversies. But in a way, a little better for the Catholic Church. So it's also, as he was saying, that this growth, this diminish, things are dynamic, for this. So I think there's a chance for the development of the Catholic Church nowadays in China.
So just one more question. If I am a member of the underground church, I imagine I'm not going to be open in society about being a Catholic. But if I am going to the above ground church, I'll call it, am I going to be open for, you mentioned these students connecting. And if I'm going to the open church, or the, I don't know, what do I call it? What do we call the Catholic above ground church?
Official, you may call it.
Official,
church.
Okay, official Catholic Church. Then, in other activities, am I likely to express my Catholicity or to identify? Am I free?
I think it's a process, as mentioned, the agreement, the court between Holy See and China, they are now the Holy Father said all bishops are in union with the Holy See, and some underground priests registered. I think it's a process, this reconciliation. Some have suffered in the past. It's difficult for them to change, to get update. I'm teaching in the seminary, and I even have priests, underground priests, who attend courses. But also the seminary is very open. In the seminary, they said, "Oh, for him, it's like a sabbatical year. He just come and, if they like to how to say, to take up a course, okay. If not, it's just like sabbatical."
Thank you very much, Chiaretto. I'm John Lindblom, and just graduated from University of Notre Dame, where we had a group of Chinese Catholic fellowship trying in a small way to reach out to Chinese students, undergraduates and graduate students who are at Notre Dame. And so going back to Sister's question about how many of those Chinese students in the US are Catholics or Christians, and like he said, it's a tiny, tiny number. Most of them are, have no Christian background, but in large proportion, well, a lot of them go to Catholic universities or Catholic high schools, and it's their very first time to have any chance to have a real encounter with the Catholic faith. So it's a great opportunity in this country for Catholic schools to reach out to them. And Pope Benedict once said that Catholic schools can be, centers for evangelization. And when I say that term, I mean it in the sense that Chiaretto was talking about, which is planting seeds and welcoming people and, establishing friendship. And the Catholic Church, I think, has a great advantage in still having the structures. The Catholic Church still has big parishes and great universities, so it has a great infrastructure already where these things can happen, but it's not necessarily happening in the sense of giving an opportunity to introduce the faith to international students. So that's a big goal of the initiative that Father Michael and the association are getting started now, the Campus Engagement Initiative. So my question for you is, in what ways are you aware of the church encouraging these structures, the Catholic schools, the parishes or whatever, to reach out to Chinese students with an opportunity to learn about faith?
Mm-hmm.
Or is that happening? Or are you involved in those kinds of efforts or discussions?
Well, as we know that also among the students coming here, mostly are not Catholic. They don't come from Catholic families, so they just look at the rankings, through the agents, and of course there are also Chinese families with Catholic families would like to send their children to Catholic schools. Yeah, there was a possibility in Taiwan, but then also the tension is not helpful, and certainly they can be oriented to Catholic schools, but there were quite few, very few.
Thank you, Chiaretto. I have a question for you, and then first an observation. Based on your experience with young people in Chinese universities, what do you think is the appeal to young people about Catholicism, given the heavy rituals and rites that we as Catholics have, especially with Mass? You sit, you stand, there are certain things. And also because perhaps the elder generation of these young students do that. So what do you think is the appeal for Catholicism there in the young people vis-a-vis the Protestant way of worship?
Yeah, in my experience, the Protestant way of fellowship is more attractive. I remember groups of so they work very much at school campuses, and it was quite attractive for them because they were open to. Now a little less. It's declining the number recently, but I remember that some of these students. We had certain meetings. Now they also come to our meetings, sharing the Bible. But then at the end, they were open. At the end, they all become baptized Protestants because it's at school, at their where they live. This fellowship. I also joined their fellowship sometimes. And then at one point, one came with me, and then we went to church. And then he said, it's a new experience for me because I find in our fellowship we are just at the same age, same problems, same of life. But then I see this church with parents, children, young people, and it was an eye-opening also for him. This, the Catholic Church. So I think it's also a chance for if we like for ecumenism, and if they are better in evangelization, the Protestants. We also welcome other religions, and then we ultimately we are one family.